Our protagonist finds himself in a pathetic state, covered in mud from head to toe, and surrounded by pigs in a stable. Unable to move his limbs, he tries to look around, but his poor eyesight deprives him of clear vision. However, his nostrils don't disappoint him, and with just one whiff, he can easily make out more of his surroundings, from the smell of pig dumps to a blend of pigpen scents. Suddenly, all the pigs start running, and some step on him. But he soon forgets the pain when he notices a girl. The pigs get excited as the girl's presence means food time as she brings fresh feed for them. Our protagonist finds it strange that she hasn't noticed him slumped in the mud but hopes she'll help him. The girl steps closer to where he is lying. He tries to explain that he can't move his body and asks her to help him, but he surprises himself when he grunts after the sentence. He tells her a little about himself, which basically concludes that he is an otaku. The frequent belching grosses him out, but he can't help letting one out whenever he tries to speak. Just then, he hears the girl's voice, who finally realizes he's not a pig and assures him she'll get him out of the shed. The protagonist is happy that she gets it, but is amazed that he can hear the girl's voice even though she doesn't open her mouth to speak. The protagonist is astonished because even though she didn't talk to him, she knew exactly what he was saying, and above that, he could hear her thoughts, too. The girl, who had run out to fetch something, returns with a wooden board to help him get out. As the girl pulls him out, the protagonist remembers he was a prototypical male science nerd, standing at 174 centimeters tall and weighing 53 kilograms. But in the manner the girl plopped him on the board, he realizes destiny has played a cruel joke on him, and he is turned into a pig. As the plump pig lies and contemplates how he ended up in such a pathetic situation, he tries to convince himself that it must be a dream. However, to him, the world appears dichromatic, which is one of the attributes of a pig. So he's definitely a pig. His mind soon wanders to the girl, and as he tries to focus on her, he hopes she's pretty. He soon lets his perversion cloud his mind, wishing to get a peek under her skirt. He doesn't stop there and hopes she is a blonde, school-going girl. The girl stares at him, shocked, and resumes dragging him. After some time, he opens his eyes and finds himself in a bedroom. He breathes a sigh of relief that the nightmare is over. He blames the raw pig liver he had, after which he suffered from intense stomach pains, and collapsed on the train platform. That is the last thing he remembers, and he assumes someone must have taken him to the hospital. He looks around and realizes it is not a hospital, and soon, the girl from before steps inside. She looks hesitant and apologizes for not being able to turn him back to human. The pig doesn't understand what she's talking about and gets down from the bed. He walks towards a mirror and finds he still is a chubby pig. The pig realizes the girl can read his mind, making him edgy. To calm him, the girl introduces herself as Jess, a Yethma or the maid class, who takes care of the household. The pig reciprocates and, in a phony accent, tells her he's from Tokyo, Japan. Jess apologizes for her ignorance and admits she doesn't know anything about the outside world besides Mysteria. Seeing the pig look confused, she drags a chair near the window and asks him to hop on it. She opens the window to a lush green field and explains that the entire stretch of the land is known as Mysteria. They are currently in the home of House Kiltiran. She further explains that Yethmas are distinctive for wearing silver collars, which represents that they can communicate with their minds. The pig now understands how she could understand him. Jess offers the pig some fruits she's bought, thinking he might be hungry. The pig agrees he's hungry but for a touch and not for food. Jess complies and starts stroking his back, and he enjoys it as his dream from the isekai fantasy stage finally seems to become a reality. With many questions in his mind, he looks at Jess lecherously and has an intense desire to take her there, making the pig more swine-like. Jess confirms she heard everything and says that while he was asleep, she brushed him and made her skirt shorter as per his wishes. She apologizes for being intrusive. However, the pig thinks otherwise and can't believe his luck that he crossed paths with such an innocent girl. He feels if he were to wish to see her naked, she wouldn't flinch, and just as he thought, Jess starts unbuttoning her shirt while she hesitantly explains there is not much to see. The pig stops her in time and asks her to listen carefully. He blatantly praises the size of her bosom, explaining many prefer that size. He further says she should concentrate on the things he wants to convey. Rest are monologues that he wants her to ignore. He shows his gratitude for everything Jess has done for him and even made his fantasies come true, but he feels if she keeps up with this, he'll lose the excitement. After all, she is not some fairy who exists to fulfill all his desires. Jess, however, stays adamant. So to dissuade her from stealing the charm, he outrightly points out that it makes him feel awkward. He thinks about his dream and imagines Jess as his younger sister. He fantasizes about the devoted, sweet one who would pour love into her cooking for him, and, at the same time, a sister who treats him like a pig but still makes him his lunch. He mentally makes a note of the second one being preferable and conveys it to Jess. He clarifies that he doesn't want to be on the receiving end of one-sided love because that will indebt him, and he has nothing to offer in return. He hates that kind of thing and asks her to help him only when he asks for it, and he promises to do everything in his power as a pig to return the favor. He doesn't shy away from saying if he's treated like a pig and only helped when needed, it is titillating for him. He goes on about his plans to see her without clothes on a rainy day. As soon as Jess responds to it positively, the pig reminds her it was a monologue. His creepy fetishes have made one thing clear: otakus enjoy being treated like pigs. Jess goes for a walk with a pig. The pig then begins to fantasize about her dress, complimenting her about how beautiful she is. She then asks the pig to walk closer to her as it is far away. He then tells her they were just compliments and has no ulterior motives, but she doesn't believe him because his description of her was very raw. She then introduces herself to the pig, telling him that her name is Jess. The pig exclaims in joy that he finally has gotten to know her name and sees it as a reward for being on first-name basis with her. He also tells her she can call him Mr. Pig, but would love it if she paid more attention to what he said. They both walk to a farm filled with lots of chickens. Mr. Pig runs toward the chickens, chasing them away, but Jess cautions him not to do so. Mr. Pig explains he can't help it because that's what pigs do. Jess tells him if he doesn't stop chasing the chickens, she will torment him, and he falls to the ground in shock. Jess and Mr. Pig both walk into a room on the farm, and she tells him to have a little patience with her because she needs to tend to the farm animals. She walks up to a wooden cabinet, opens it up, and places an orange crystal inside. Suddenly the room lights up and cleaning equipment appears, cleaning the pigs that were in their pens. Mr. Pig gasps in surprise as he hasn't seen such an act before. Mr. Pig asks Jess how it all works, and she tells him that on the farm they use something called Risti to care for the animals. She goes on telling Mr. Pig that he wouldn't know about it since he was a foreigner to the land. She reaches into her pockets to bring out different colored stones and shows them to Mr. Pig as he stands in front of her in awe. Jess explains to him that the stones are created every day by a great mage and then distributed to everyone in the kingdom. She goes on to tell him that they have magical powers that can be used for different purposes. She explains that each color symbolizes a special gift, yellow being for light and movement, red for heat and flames. Mr. Pig is amazed by this discovery and asks Jess how many types of stone are created. Jess tells him there are mainly 5 stones created: yellow, red, green, blue, and black. Mr. Pig is surprised by the fact that a black stone is created because he thinks black has a bad attribute. But she tells him that the black stone is for prayer and if used, can cause a miracle that only mages can achieve, but only a few of them use the black stone. Mr. Pig tries to find out why only a few would use a stone that can create a miracle, and Jess tells him that only a certain person called Yethmas can use the stone. She goes on telling him that at the Kiltiri house, the stones are used for medicinal purposes but all depend on how the Yethmas pray. She also tells him that the black stone never works for normal people. Just then she realizes that the cleaning of the farm was almost done and asks Mr. Pig to play outside for a while. He falls to the ground saddened by the fact that she still treats him like a pig. Jess and Mr. Pig are now outside, under a tree, and he begins to daydream again of her. She then cuts him short by telling him that she didn't feel she was beautiful, but tells her that the beautiful ones never accept beauty. So they both begin to banter on the case of beauty. Just then a mild wind blows and elevates Jess's skirt, revealing her thighs. Mr. Pig was astonished to finally get a glimpse of her thighs and goes on to call her an angel. But she tells Talon to stop complimenting her, and she feels embarrassed every time he does that, and if continues she is going to spank him. To her greatest stories he turns heed but asking her to spank him, but she just turns away instead. She tells Mr. Pig that he's a nice person inside, but Mr. Pig asks her if she was being surrounded by mean people. But she says no, saying since she was a servant she didn't have the chance to make friends, and she was glad to have met him. Mr. Pig tries to find out what she does with her time since she doesn't have any friends. Jess goes on telling Mr. Pig that she reads fairy tale stories during her free time, and Mr. Pig is perplexed because they both have the same interests. Jess tells Mr. Pig that she dreams of traveling and meeting a prince. She is grateful to meet him because now she has someone who can help her in times of need. Mr. Pig is touched to be a good friend, but asks her if people often turn to animals in their kingdom. So he tells him the story of a war between mages and how they turn people to animals. Mr. Pig tries to find out if there are any mages alive that could turn him back to human. Jess tells him that in their village there's a mage who survived the war and for that he would have to go see the king. Mr. Pig appeals to Jess to go with him, and she agrees, telling him that if the king hears of his situation, she's sure he'd help him. She goes on to tell him that both meeting and helping each other must be fate. She sits on the ground revealing her undergarments. Mr. Pig then tells her that she can't go around showing her undergarments even though he's just a pig. She gets up crying and apologizing for traveling her undress, but he tells her that it was okay. And next time he'd want to see something more interesting. Jess asks the pig to wait while she changes her clothes. Part 2. Initially, the pig is alarmed that she is going to change before him, and his hormones start dancing. Jess chuckles at his eagerness and pulls out a corset. The two soon leave the mansion, and Jess apologizes for playing a trick on him. The pig says he was just expecting to see her in a different outfit, totally forgetting that she can read his mind and dirty thoughts. Jess points at the dwelling. She tells him it is the town of Kiltiri. They soon reach the town, and the pig is amazed to see the liveliness and compares it to a festival. Just then, a shop catches his attention, and he asks Jess about it. Jess tells him it is a risty shop, and because they are very expensive, they have tight security. They reach the entrance of a dark alley, and the pig asks why they're there. Jess asks the pig to stay close by. She tells him that Yethmas don't just read people's minds but can communicate their inner thoughts, so she warns him against speaking out loud. As she's ready to step into the alley, the pig stops her, worried for her safety. But Jess assures him she's safe as the corset she's wearing has the house kilter and crest. No one will dare to attack her. Surprisingly, the pig takes up the role of her guard, and together, they step into the alley. A shady-looking man approaches them and offers to sell 3 bottles of Black Risty for 100 golds. Jess is broke and asks how much for only 1 bottle, which the man says will cost her 150 golds. While Jess checks her purse, the pig remembers Black Risty is used by Yethmas for prayer, and telepathically asks how many she would need for 1 session. Jess tells him she would need 1. The pig further asks if there is any leftover magic power after a wish has been granted, and Jess confirms. The pig asks her to pretend to chase him before he runs in the opposite direction. Jess apologizes to the man, who starts getting anxious and runs after the pig. They stop only after they are out of the town. Once they catch their breath, the pig tells her not to buy from that man. He explains those Risty are just leftovers. Jess realizes that the guy started acting weird once he saw the crest, yet she was unable to read his thoughts. The pig speculates that the guy is being careful not to give away his evil intentions while doing business with Yethmas, who can read his mind. He theorizes that the man realized she belonged to the house of Kiltirin, and if he sold her anything, he would get exposed and caught. Jess tells the pig that she usually buys Risty from the shop they saw on their way, and 1 bottle cost her 600 golds. Since that man was kind enough to call her, she felt bad for suspecting him. The pig sighs at Jess's kindness, which supersedes naivety. Jess shows her gratitude to the pig for helping her not get scammed. The pig is happy to help and asks her to be careful, as anyone who offers a huge discount usually has his own profit in mind. Jess is truly grateful for his help, and she gently caresses his face. The pig softens a bit and asks why she wanted to buy Black Risty. Jess isn't ready to delve into that yet. The pig admits that he couldn't understand her when he first woke up in the pig pen, but once he woke up in the room, he could understand her. He remembers her telling him she had done everything she could and asks what she did back then. Jess apologizes but doesn't say more. The pig rephrases his question and asks if she used a Black Risty from House Kiltirin without permission to heal him. And now she's out to buy a replacement with her own money. Jess admits it is all true and says she had just been reprimanded for using a yellow Rista without permission and a Black Rista above that will only make things worse for her. The pig suspects Jess must have used the yellow Rista on him because she couldn't have carried him up to the 3rd floor on her own. Jess, now on the verge of tears, apologizes for dragging the pig into the mess. The pig realizes she might just be the epitome of kindness, and he owes her way more than he could ever repay as a pig. He appeases her by saying she didn't do anything wrong as she was only trying to help a human who turned into a pig. They head back to the town and stand in the opposite alley of the Rista shop. The pig asks Jess if she has ever bargained, and as expected of Jess, she denies it, saying It would be terrible for her to cause the shop to suffer any losses. The pig explains that some haggling is fine since the shops usually earn profits. She agrees to try and steps inside the shop, where Killens greets her by her name. The pig telecommunicates with her, guiding her in each step. Jess asks for Black Rista, but Killens believes a Yethma can't afford the cost. He asks for 600 golds. The pig advises her to tell the amount she has and request him to lower the price. Jess tells Killens she has 200 golds and pleads with him to lower the price as she needs it. Killens outrightly says no and suspects she is not buying it for House Kiltirin. He further mocks her by asking why he should give a discount. The pig is astonished to see the discriminatory behavior even though Jess told him Killens is nice to her. He remembers Jess telling him earlier that she needs the Black Rista by the next day before she leaves for the royal capital or else she'll be called a thief. The pig is curious to know how the Yethmas, who need the Rista but don't have the money, afford it. Back in the present, Jess offers to sell the pig along with 200 golds at the pig's suggestion. Killens is reluctant, but Jess tells him that the pig does many tricks. Killens asks her to show what the pig can do. Jess wonders what to say and commands the pig to dance. The pig is dumbfounded for a few seconds, but he sees a patterned carpet. He imagines the patterns to be instructions for a game that points to the direction he needs to move his limbs. He breaks into a break dance and takes it a step further by doing a headspin. Killens asks Jess to stop her pig as he can't breathe from laughing so hard. The pig stops with a grand finale of a spin and lands on 2 legs. Killens is thrilled and asks Jess to keep her 200 golds. He will give her the Black Rista in exchange for the pig. Killens says he'll use the pig to make money in the festival that evening. Jess offers to help him for free and says since she raised the pig, she wants to see him perform. He agrees to arrange the schedule so she can see the show. Jess telepathically apologizes to the pig and asks if he'll be fine. The pig assures her that he is a dirty, skinny, four-eyed and she shouldn't underestimate him. Killens hands Jess a Black Rista, and she thanks him. As soon as she leaves, Killens puts a collar on the pig and ties him up so he doesn't run away. In the evening, Killens sets up his stall and keeps the pig tied nearby. The pig is thinking of ways to escape when he hears Jess and is surprised to see her in a maid's outfit. His brain immediately switches to his perverted self, and he starts drooling and imagining her calling him master. Jess squats down to give the pig 2 large apples she has bought for him and calls him master, giving the pig an adrenaline rush. Once he is done eating, he asks Jess if she'll be going back to House Kiltirin, and she says she has to pack for the trip. The pig asks her to meet him under the big tree she took him in the morning. He'll figure out his escape plan and will meet her when the sun starts rising. He assures Jess not to worry, and he's going to make it out of there. Jess smiles and says she trusts him. The festivities are in full swing, and people look happy, except for the pig. This is the end. Subscribe for the next.